Testing, testing. JB here, August 3rd, 2022. Just going to talk really quick here in the afternoon. It's about 2:35 on this fine afternoon. Market is rallying after Monday and Tuesday's somewhat slow melt-off, I guess you would call it. The S&P was down 1% coming into today. Recouped that. We're up about 1.7%. We'll see how the rest of the week pans out. The big data point at the end of the week is the jobs report. And people were concerned around the June's job report that if there's a decline in that number or comes in less than estimates, it's just going to further give more reason for folks to think that the recession, if we are in a recession, the recession is going to be worse than what the market's pricing in, what people are expecting. We have to kind of get through this July jobs report. And I think as long as it comes in like a Goldilocks situation, I put on a watch list. Not too hot, not too cold. You want it too hot because then you're going to have the Fed again getting into their hawkish mode, and you don't want it to miss estimates too much because then there's concern that maybe the recession we're still in the early stages of it. So hopefully Goldilocks number comes out on Friday, set things up nicely. I put on last week when I talked about the GDP number last Monday. I thought the SPY could hit 410. It went through 410, closed I think 414 or so on Friday. We're back at that level now. I think 420 is the next level. So, to me, I hate to see things go too crazy because then there's going to be some wild swings, possibly to the downside. But maybe we have a churn at that 420 level for a little bit, and then we'll reevaluate and see how things go from there. But certainly a nice day here today. So a couple things I want to talk about. First is Spotify. I've had Spotify on the watch list for the last couple weeks. I was looking to get Spotify calls into earnings, passed on that. The premiums looked pretty expensive on a risk reward basis. Stock was, I think, was 97 or maybe it was 102, 103 before the close, before the reported earnings. Sure enough, they come out with some great numbers, especially in the face of this macro environment where you see some of these subscription service companies and platforms showing declining subscriber growth. On the flip side, Spotify is business as usual, doing very well. Stock broke into the 120s, then over the next 4 or 5 sessions consolidated. So that's why I was looking for some possible calls to play for upside over 125. So today's move here, it broke over 120. It's 119.77 now. I think it has a possibility to get 125, maybe even 130 into Friday. So already locked some in to help cover some costs. I'm going to hold the rest of these overnight. Obviously, there's some risk if we have some kind of gap down to the big gap down in the futures on some kind of catalyst or what have you. Spotify can be 117, 116, and then we're starting over from zero. But definitely like to set up here on Spotify. So I'll hold those. At least that locks them in to cover some profits. Wayfair, got to give a shout out to Jake who posted the chart over the weekend. I was a little concerned about Wayfair because Overstock reported earnings last week, and it's probably not the best comparison because Wayfair is a very highly executing company who's done a really good job driving their business. You would never, so I think the stock was $20 back in COVID, back in 2020. And then it just took off leaps and bounds, took advantage of the acceleration of people shopping from e-commerce as opposed to brick and mortar. Who thought you can buy furniture online? Well, Wayfair taught everybody that you can do that along with Restoration Hardware. But the stock has come way off its highs, just like a lot of these e-commerce companies, Shopify, et cetera, et cetera. So just taking a look, huge short interest. Even if there's some kind of inline numbers or relief report, the stock probably gets over $70, if not higher. Lucky enough to add some calls much lower than it is now. It's trading right near the highs at $63 here. Already locked a lot in to cover costs and a little bit of profit. I may, if I can get them out, and I think they were just $3 and I had them at the ask and they didn't fill. It's 285 by 310 right now. Maybe I'll wait to the end of the day, just take a couple more off the report in the morning. If there's a miss, the stock could be back into the 50s, and then those $70 strikes are bid lists. So that's a high risk. So I'm probably only going to hold a couple into the close and then hold on to the rest for a possible inline report would be great. I think it trades up near 70 or so. A beat and raise, any kind of surprise, and maybe it's 75 or so, maybe even 80. So that's kind of the thought process there on Spotify. MITK, not really going to talk too much about MITK. A ping was acquired this morning by, was it Apollo Group? Not that they're the same company, but it's similar sector where you have identity protection software or at least security software. MITK, I wouldn't call it the same type of company, but similar kind of, I wouldn't say similar thing, but it just shows you the demand for people trying to protect themselves from fraud and identity theft, so on and so forth. So MITK broke over. It's 11:48 right now. The high on Monday was 11:47, or maybe yeah, it was Monday. I thought once it broke through that, it's going to head into the 12s today or tomorrow. Still have a shot here, maybe by the end of the week. Great story. I think I don't know if I wrote on the watch list. I did it on my rant. But the more I read the transcript of their earnings conference call, the more you see that their transition from being just a company that owns the monetization rights for banks to have online check deposits. That was the big part of their business. Now they're shifting to real-time identity verification services, and they've already seen a huge demand for that and huge growth this past quarter. If that continues, the stock's going to be, maybe it's into the 20s, and if not higher. So I was looking at August strikes, but I said, let me give me another 250 for October. So I went out and got the October strikes. I'll continue to hold those for the foreseeable future, unless maybe I'll take some off for 200% at some point and then just ride the rest. Because I think this is over $15 in the coming weeks. I mean, don't hold me to it, but that's kind of my thought there. CUTR, unfortunately, you look at InMode, ticker INMD. I had those 30 strikes. I sold those on August 30s. I sold. Where is it now? It was just at 35 before. I don't even want to look at it now. Is it 36 yet? Why can't this go up here? There we go. Yeah, 36.25. So unfortunately, my calls, which I sold maybe at what I sold for 220, they'd be 6 and change right now, maybe even $7. I don't want to look. CUTR is a similar kind of company. Aesthetics. Back in the day when it was one of my top 5 stocks for, I forget what the year was, 2017 or 2018. It came to my attention because people to get tattoo removal, things like that, CUTR, that's one of their products. They also have weight loss solutions. You go into a clinic, they do weight loss stuff similar to what Allergen did with their cool shaping line, I guess it's called. So it's just a great story. And I mean, the stock it got approved for some kind of dermatologist. Let's see if I can find it. It got approved for some, why is it not coming over here? It had a new approval for a whole nother line that opens another addressable market that, let's see if I can find it here. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, their AviClear solution. I guess that's for dermatology practices. Like, I don't know if that's for people who have pimples and acne and things like that, but it's a totally new addressable market that they now have. The stock was at $70 or $80 for no other reason than obviously the compression in the entire market. The stock sold off all the way down into I think it was in the 30s. Let's see, did it go all the way down into the 30s? But anyway, here it is back at over 48. And unfortunately, trying to find strikes to play for risk reward into their earnings has been tough. The spreads are wide. If I get in a position, you have to think, how can you get out when the spreads are so wide as well? I mean, you got to have an exit strategy, right? So if something moves or if there's some kind of news or catalyst, and you're trying to get out and the spreads are so wide, there's no liquidity. It's not a smart situation. So unfortunately, I missed out on the move here up into the mid 40s, almost 50. Maybe tomorrow I'll look for some inexpensive, maybe 65 strikes, just as a kind of speculative trade into their earnings, because I think they're going to do well. Just that whole sector, I mean, it's just a great sector. I think even if the market pulls back a little bit, the CUTR, InMode, INMD should do well going forward. So that's that on that one. TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor reports after the close tomorrow. You see the stock is back over $20 today. I still have my August 26 strikes. They're actually finally have a bid. Let's see what they are now. 6 by 11. I think I got those at 26 cents. I didn't even look. Did I get them? Let's see if I have. I got them a while ago. Oh, no, I got them at, looks like my average 30 cents. 30. Yep, 30 cents. So obviously they're at a discount right now, but I was planning to possibly hold them into earnings, but the hope would be that I could cover some of the costs or premiums. Before that event, stock sold off into the 18s. I think it hit 17 to change before bouncing. I think did Booking report earnings yesterday? But Airbnb reported yesterday earnings. You would think with all that's going on with travel and people trying to get deals and hotels are all booked up that Airbnb would have its best quarter ever. On the flip side, there was some disappointment. The stock, let's see, I don't even know what Airbnb is at right now. I mean, it's off its lows, but the stock's somewhat disappointed. I hope that doesn't play through with TripAdvisor's earnings. But again, what I've said with TripAdvisor all along, it's the most trafficked travel website on the planet. If they just figured out a way to monetize that traffic, I mean, the stock's a 4 bag or 5 bagger in a very short period of time. If they were ever able to do that, I'm not going to add anything here because I hate staring at the calls. It's tough when you get leaps or longer dated strikes. They report earnings and then you're staring at the calls for the next 3-4 months. I don't plan on doing that with TripAdvisor. So maybe after they report Thursday after the close, maybe I'll look to add some more stuff on Friday if it's a decent report. If not, unfortunately, I'll have to let the rest of my August strikes expire. That's TripAdvisor. Oh, so the SPY, I already talked about the SPY, 410. That was a big spot. Market wanted to bounce after Pelosi's airplane landed all the way up to 413 yesterday. Then once it hit 413, it was sell mode all the way down to 408. Here this morning again, 410 seemed like we were going to get back down to 410 after the gap higher. It held that, and then we were off to the races up to 415. I mean, it certainly looks like, I wouldn't say buyers are back for good, but certainly it looks like either people are throwing in the towel or trying to put some money to work. I just posted a chart for the second half of the year already. Let's see if I have it here. Do I have it? Nope. Well, I'll find it. I think I put it up there. Yeah. So if you take a look, just June and July, the Nasdaq's up 15%. No, but July and August, the Nasdaq's up 15%. S&P's up 10%. So if you just have one mindset where it's short the market, buy puts, we're crashing, we're in a recession, market has ways to go to the downside, and that's your mindset, then you miss out on these bounces. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not possible that there's more downside in the future. We don't hit more new 52-week lows. But I'm certainly, and I said it for the last month or two, that I'm more open to playing speculative short-term dated calls for bounces as opposed to trying to play the puts. And maybe that thought process will change if there are some other things that come out, like the jobs report on Friday. That's kind of my thought process there. I'm trying to think of other names. Oh, Stratasys reported earnings this morning. They actually weren't too bad. They beat on estimates. They raised their EPS guidance for the full year. Oh, W's hit new highs. But then they went and just trimmed off a little bit on their revenue guidance, like $10 million. So their guidance was 685 to 695, and they dropped it to 675 to 685, 685 million. So what is that? It's not even 3%, right? I mean, and the fact that their EPS is going up means they're probably scaling back on costs, which you would think is a good sign for companies. Instead, people sold it off, dropped down to $17.50 in the pre-market, right at the open, and then bounced. A nice $2.50 bounce up near $20. I wish I went and got some leaps here. Who knows if it just churns here for the next couple weeks until some type of catalyst. But certainly a name I like to watch. I've always watched. So maybe I'll look to get some leaps on that one. Edit, ticker EDIT, reported earnings. I guess they came in a little bit better than expectations. And this is a name used to be, I think it was 2021, started 2021, when all these genome stocks went nuts. Edit, Beam, CRISPR, so on and so forth. Edit was in that group, and I forget what it went up to, $80, $90, or was it 50? I forget. So I hate to look at some of these stocks and think they're going to revisit those prices, but Edit had some issues with their chief medical officer, their CMO, so they just announced a new CMO on their earnings this morning, and I think that probably alleviates some of the risk in the name, and maybe it starts to rally off of that. Stock's up 11%, so certainly a name I'm watching along with Sage. And I think that's it. I'm trying to think of other things I want to blab about, but that's probably it. Hopefully Spotify can get over 120 into the close. Roku, crazy bounce off its 60, when it hit $62 last week. Have to think similar to what happened to Peloton when Peloton got destroyed, that Peloton, all of a sudden there was buyout rumors, Apple's going to buy them, Amazon's going to buy them, and that was in the mid-20s. So there's Peloton down. Where is Peloton now? Is it a 1090? It was 1090 this morning. I almost got some calls this morning. It's 11:37. So you have to think there's going to be some talk. Netflix going to buy them out, blah, 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 like Business Insider had reported a month ago. And I guess last but not least, I'll leave it off with Peloton. It's tough to go back to a name that I was very bullish on. But that was in the 20s, and then I traded it for upside down here to $11. My wife still uses the Peloton on and off, and there was an in-sync ride a couple days ago that she wanted to ride, and she goes on it. It was just recorded, and there was like 200,000 people already did the ride. So again, my lens for Peloton is probably a little different than everybody else's because I think they've built a great brand and culture, and I wouldn't call it a cult, but there's a lot of people very loyal to the brand, and I think that still holds true. They start rolling out some other products that maybe people, especially as they look to cut back on spending $150 a month on a gym membership or what have you. They can say, I do it in my home for $44 a month for the digital subscription for Peloton. Not saying I'm going to go and put my bullhorns on Peloton, but I'm definitely open for a possibility of ending some calls, possibly. And I guess when they're reporting, I just had that date, but and not that they would surprise on the subs, but maybe they do better than like a relief bounce, maybe back over $15 or so. They haven't announced their date, but probably at the end of August next couple of weeks. So definitely a name I'll be watching. I think that's it, folks. About 2:50 here on this fine August 3rd, 2022. Shout out to God Options, just completely in fuego. God Options is taking up the entire trade entry exit channel in the chat room with some crazy trades over the last couple days. So kudos. Hopefully you can keep that going. Looks like God Options is plugged into the matrix. That's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll try and get back on the audio. Probably tomorrow before the open. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.